Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, celebrity interviews, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Now celebrating 17 years of broadcasting success, here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
And welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again, both for our radio audience here in Mississippi at WYAD 94.1 FM and WYADonline.com. We're glad that you all could be with us. Also, those tuning in through online affiliates around the world, including our friends at iHeartRadio and Amazon Music Podcast. Glad you all could join us as well. I'm excited to welcome back to our program today Andy Raichle. Andy is the Vice President of Matrix New World Engineering. If the name sounds familiar, had a great chat with Andy at the end of last year. I was just saying to him, it's hard to believe that was almost 4 months ago now when he and I spoke, not only about the work that Matrix was doing, but also what they've been a part of in the past, including the cleanup effort after Superstorm Sandy. It was featured in the documentary we talked about called Heart of the Shore. We're excited to welcome Andy back to not only to catch us up on what Matrix is doing, but also the role that it's playing when it comes to the conversation about renewable energy. One of the big things about Matrix is they're meeting the challenges in so many different ways, including when it comes to energy and climate change. We'll talk to Andy about that, and of course let you guys know how you can find out more information. Andy, it's great to have you back on with us.
Thank you, Cyrus. Great to be here.
So, Andy, as I mentioned, I still want our audience to, if they have not checked out Heart of the Shore, definitely want them to head over to Amazon and do that. Had a great chat with you at the end of last year about that. The work that Matrix does, though, is something that is year-round. And one of the conversations, of course, that people are having these days are about renewable energy. We hear the talk about climate change. Talk to us about how Matrix is involved in helping to not only to implement renewable energy as an energy source, but also to kind of forward the conversations about it.
Sure. Well, first, why are we in renewable energy? And that really goes to our credo, which is we look to, solve the world's environmental challenges through practical engineering, and so that has naturally led us into renewable energy, which has been aided certainly by a lot of interest from the public as well as the government as well, and subsidies and industrial development of an offshore wind and renewable energy sector. So that's how we got in it and why we're in it. What's really interesting is the market is now driving renewable energy. It's that industry and the power industry it's become more reliable and more desirable, and certainly investment likes all those things and has followed behind and is really diving headfirst into the renewable energy world.
Andy, before we go too far into the conversations about the work that you guys are doing, I do want to say for those who may have missed our previous conversation, just a little bit of backstory about Matrix New World. So, when it comes to these things of meeting the challenges that I mentioned, and we talked about last time, of course, when it comes to, things that are happening, of course, you guys are handling challenges in water, and I mentioned energy, climate change. How did this all come about? You guys celebrated 30 years, I think we talked about last time when you were on the program. How did this all begin that you all decided to meet the challenges that are going on, not only in this country, but also globally?
Well, it's really a testament to our people. Our sort of credo is we want to have interesting work for talented people. And, we go in the direction that our folks are interested in, and that's certainly renewable energy. Our folks have a passion for the environment and renewable energy, considering climate change. We consider it the challenge of not only a generation, but it is the challenge of mankind right now. It's that we need to harness all our resources to solve this problem, and that's really how we got into it.
Yeah. Well, as we're talking about renewable energy then, Andy, of course, the other conversation that we hear government officials talking about and others, and that is reducing greenhouse gas emissions. We hear a lot of talk about climate change, even though for a lot of people, they're trying to figure out exactly what that means and what our role is. How is Matrix kind of looking at its role in addressing these issues? We hear from the government, but what is Matrix doing to be able to try to address those issues itself?
So we live in the implementation and practical world of delivering these technologies, we're not the folks who design solar panels or wind turbines, but our role is to deliver that power in a responsible way to where it's used. And so we're often involved in the transmission of that energy and the storage of that energy and the reliability of that energy. And, what's an interesting dynamic right now is that renewable power is getting to what we call a utility scale. So renewable power, traditionally folks think about solar panels on their roof and their power in their own house. Well, we're moving into a realm where we're dealing with renewable utility scale power. And that means your local power provider is investing in offshore wind and solar farms and geothermal to deliver power into their grid that ultimately winds up powering a warehouse or a factory or your homes or 1 million homes. And that's really where the rubber is meeting the road right now.
Yeah. Have you found to kind of go full circle for a moment back, Andy, to our conversation last year and how I began this segment? Have you found that because of projects like Heart of the Shore, that people are discovering not only, of course, Matrix New World, but also discovering, the companies that are helping to be able to solve the problems that all of us are seeing?
Yes, and we benefit from that. We benefit from our culture of wanting to do good with our technical skills, and so we're being sought out in that respect. And it also helps that, and I'll credit a company like Tesla for this, is that renewable energy is cool again, right? It's something people want to see, and so there's a real demand for it. And we've developed a trust with our clients and with the public that we're going to act responsibly in delivering that technology.
To that point about the public, Andy, has a lot of that been about communication? Because I think even here on the radio side where I live in Mississippi, I think a lot of times when people hear certain terms, there is a confusion exactly for what it may mean, but also how they're impacted. Has that kind of been part of what Matrix has been doing as well? Or working with organizations that do help with communication?
Absolutely, and I'm guilty of that myself. I just mentioned something called utility scale power, right? And so that's very in the weeds. But it is certainly an obstacle, right? And folks are afraid that they're not going to have reliable power. And we have this happen in Texas just last month, where with the ice storms, and that folks thought, well, maybe that's because we're too reliable on renewable energy, and that's a real challenge that renewable energy has to overcome, both technologically and in the psyche of the folks, is to convince people that it's going to be reliable. And it's a really interesting business line, because now you're seeing folks come in with massive battery storage. So it says, okay, if the wind's not blowing today, I can take yesterday's power out of the battery that I stored it in, this massive battery that I can then discharge that later. So those are the types of things that are important, and the clean energy is gonna have to be reliable if people are going to buy into it.
I mentioned the work that you all did when it came to Superstorm Sandy, Andy, and I think as you all are meeting challenges, that means that there are things that come up that you all have to be able to face. Kind of looking at the work that Matrix has done, what are some of the things that kind of stand out to you when it comes to some of the greatest challenges that Matrix has had to face head on, and what you guys have been able to learn from that?
Well, we've been in a lot of difficult situations over our history, with disasters and COVID and the rest, and so we've taken each of those and learned from them. I think I may have mentioned this before, but one of our earliest was the Deepwater Horizon oil spill, and we mobilized at least 50 folks down there to help respond to that oil spill cleanup. And what we learned from that is we need to be nimble. We need to expect the unexpected, and we need to be prepared to mobilize for wherever the world needs us, to our skill set.
And I think that is the thing. In fact, it goes to an article that I read when I was prepping for this segment that was on the website, and we invite our audience to head over to matrixnewworld.com, and that's New World with only one W there. For those who are joining us via the podcast, we'll put the link for you guys, but it's matrixnewworld.com. There's a great article there, Andy, that talked about the flexibility being the key when it comes to dealing with crisis. And I think, that is the thing for all of us, to be able to continue to learn and to evolve as we're able to keep moving forward. And I think that is the big thing. Andy, so glad that we had a chance to be able to catch up again. Again, everyone, Andy Raichle has been our guest today. Andy is the Vice President for Matrix New World Engineering. We've been talking to them not only, of course, about what it's been like for them to look at the work that they're doing to help to forward the conversation and the work when it comes to renewable energy, but also to help with the information for you guys as well. Again, make sure you guys head over to matrixnewworld.com. Again, that's New World with only one W there, matrixnewworld.com, for a lot of more information about the work that they're doing. And, Andy, it goes without saying, you're welcome back here anytime. Looking forward to have you back on.
I always enjoy you and your audience. Thanks again. We'll see you soon.
All right, sounds great, man. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying, as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live. Then let's go make today amazing. Take care.